How's it, everybody? Aloha. Hello to my ohana in Hawaii. How are you? Nice to see you. I'm thinking about you. Oh my gosh, this COVID thing. It's a real pain, right? So hang in there. So anyway, I have a funny bunch of stories. I have so many funny stories, I don't even know where to start. Also, some people asked to see a photo of my car that I talked about in the other show. So I'm going to put that up on the top page, yeah? So please check it. Okay, so when I first came to Japan, or actually when I was in Hawaii, you know, even though I look so local, I'm actually Haole, right? That's kind of a Japanese joke. I always say, 外国人、まあこう見えても一応外国人ですからね。Like, even though I look like this, I am a 外国人, which is totally like contradicts the point, because I totally look like a 外国人, like international person in Japan. So that was my attempt at saying that even though I look so local, I am actually Haole, but you guys already know that, right? So, in Hawaii, you know, Mililani High School, especially Aiea Intermediate, there's not so many Haoles there, okay? And so I hung out with all my Japanese friends and then had all like the local, in Hawaii we say tira girls, like the big girls, the scary girls. They do this thing called search take, where they come over and they say search take or search take in a stronger voice. And I'm like, okay. And you have to give your purse or whatever you have, and they search through it, and if they see something they like, they take it. So the point there was, don't put anything you really like in your purse, okay? So, you know, you learn all these things. I'm sure it's different now. Just saying what it was in the 70s, okay? It was like that. So, you know, even though you're Haole, you start trying to talk pidgin, right? And sometimes it sounds so dumb. So then I can't even, like, you know, I want to say dakain, you know, dakain, like let's go beach, like dakain. I want to say that kind of stuff. And I still say it now. But people, like all my local friends, they look at me and really, don't try. It doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound right on you, right? And I agree, it's true. And then when I came to Japan, I found similar type stuff. So in Japan, it's really funny when the Haole guy or the non-Japanese guy like my dad is married to a Japanese lady, okay? Because the kind of Japanese they learn is like really feminine. So I was working, because there's two types. Yeah, there's a really tough, you know, Japanese, like really tough kind language. And then there's the so desu ka? Really, you know, womanly kind of feminine language, all right? Style of talking. So we were working together at this company I was working at, and I would always have to like totally control myself when I'm listening to him talking on the phone to the customer. He would say like, so nano ne, like on the phone, right? So nano ne, so desu ne, like literally in this voice, like this really macho looking guy, and he'd be like, eh? And so really in Japan, like the men don't really say eh like that very often. So you could tell that he was learning Japanese from his wife. So his, like, and my dad too, Jay Jarman, had a really funny thing because his wife was talking Japanese to their kids, and the kids were like super small, right? So my dad learned all this kind of like baby language, like language that you use towards babies. So one time he told me he was driving, and somehow the guy in back of him got really mad and like was beeping and whatever. So my dad got mad, and my dad got out of the car, stopped the car, and he got out of the car, and the guy behind him, well, you know, comes out like, you know, with these sandals on and looking like Yakuza, right? And he comes out, but he was a little bit shorter than my dad. So the guy comes out, he's like, that's how the scary guys talk, right? Like that. And my dad went, "Nani ga atta no, Chibi-chan?" Okay? And Chibi-chan is what you call like your 2-year-old, okay? So that totally surprised the guy, and he totally left. And I mean, it could have turned into a big fight, but you know, my dad was like, "Doshita no, Chibi-chan?" Like, "What's wrong with you, little boy?" Like that, you know? And the guy was just like, what is this gaikokujin guy, right? So anyway, probably thought that no use trying, yeah? Like, no use trying to yell at this guy. He's not going to understand. So that was really funny. And then when I was out of the company Recruit and my kids were still really small, I did freelance interpreting and translation. Translation is the written one, interpreting is the speaking one, okay? I also did a bunch of narration things. You guys know Mega Man. Like, if you ever heard of Rockman or Mega Man, I'm the original voice of Mega Man. So people from Germany still call me and, contact me and say, are you the Ruth Shirishi? Because I used to be Shirishi. Are you the Ruth Shirishi who is the voice of Mega Man? And I'm like, yeah, sorry, because I definitely do not look like Mega Man. I didn't really know what I was doing at the time, but I'm really proud of that because it turned into a really, like, a game that people love. So one time I was interpreting for Jesse Jackson, you know, the Reverend Jesse Jackson, right? He was over here with his group from his church and this Rainbow Coalition that they have in Chicago. And they were over here. And when I read Becoming by Michelle Obama, there was some writing about that. I was like, oh, I kind of know that, you know, because I was interpreting for them. So he was going around to some Japanese companies that he felt were being discriminatory in their hiring practices in the U.S. Totally legitimate complaint. 100% agree with that. Like at the time, it was very new thing, this diversity and all that, right? Not to give it any excuse, so we need diversity now too. Anyway, so at that time, it was kind of bad. So he was over here to meet with these leaders of the Japanese automobile companies. So we're in these really big rooms, right? And everybody on our side is all American, you know, sitting there. Jesse Jackson, Reverend Jesse Jackson, I'm sitting next to him, right? And I must have been, I don't know, how old is I, 24? Okay, so I'm sitting next to him and he's like, you know, y'all gotta just get this going, and speaking like a preacher. That's how he spoke, like Southern style or Chicago preacher, like with his heart, speaking like in a like a lilt. You know how the preachers speak, like up and down, almost like a song, right? And so I was totally in agreement with him, totally understanding what he was trying to say. And I'm going to tell them exactly what he's saying. So I was interpreting in Japanese and I was saying, それで、だから皆さんが、みたいな, you know, like really emphasizing certain words and stuff. And Jesse Jackson, like Reverend Jesse Jackson, stops it. And he says, wait a minute. He looks at me and he says, girl, you're good. And then the other lady who was with him on his team said, Reverend Jackson, you don't know what she's saying. She's speaking Japanese. You have no idea what she's saying. How do you know that? And he said, I might not know what she's saying, but I can feel it. You know? And that is like such a wonderful memory because it gave me so much confidence that, you know, you don't always have to speak that language exactly as you think is the proper way. Like you can put in tones and you know, like my friend who spoke like his wife, or like my dad who spoke like, you know, talking to a little baby to this man, or me in Hawaii trying pidgin English, you know? And I just felt like when the heart is there, you know, when the heart is there and you're meaning what you say, you don't have to worry too much about how it might sound or something. I mean, it's important to get the pronunciation correct and stuff, articulate things right. But in the end, we're all human beings, you know? And in the end, when somebody really means it and somebody really feels something, you will feel it, whether the language is the same or not. So everybody, I think some of you guys are studying Japanese. Just remember not to get too burdened in like it has to be correct, you know? Just like Japanese people, I tell them, don't get too burdened about being correct in English all the time. You know, say it with your heart. Say it with some joy. And you never know, it's going to come across really well. That's what my dad does too. So anyway, you guys have a great day. Lot of things going on in the United States of America. Don't forget to vote because that's our voice. I still haven't gotten my ballot. I'm waiting for it. Should arrive. It already got sent from Hawaii, so waiting. But anyway, let's all vote. Let's all participate. Let's all stay safe. Wash hands, wear a mask, and stay well. Much love to all of you from Japan. Bye-bye.